Okay. Hi everyone, welcome to the first video of this page, a shameless period. Yeah. Okay, so I drew that. Yeah, so I'm just really excited to start this page. I did not think I was going to be doing something like this, but it's all good. Yeah, so a little bit about why I'm doing this is because one is it was brought up by in India. There was this company that wanted to introduce period leave, and then it somehow started this whole dialogue about the need for period leave, or and it turned out to be quite a controversial topic. So, and when I was considering that, I realized that I was really passionate about this because I myself have had an extremely difficult time with my periods. From the time I've had it at the age of 14 to now when I'm 28. So that's 14 years of very different experiences and, working through uh, a lot of misinformation myself, working with a lot of shame, and working with a real difficulty to communicate what I was going through to the people around me. And the people around me mostly being the men in my life. It could be my dad, my brother, my friends. And of course, as time went on, I started paying a lot more attention to my experiences and talking to people about it and not shying away from that discussion because I realized how inconvenient it was for me and how uncomfortable I was and or I still am, and not being able to share that and holding that pain and the shame and everything, it it turned into something that was not helping me, uh, and also it was affecting me mentally. It was affecting the way I was living my life, and yeah, so I'm very passionate about starting this dialogue with men because I really believe that getting them into the conversation also helps us a great deal, really, really, in a very big way. And also, there's so much of taboo around this topic, so much of taboo around this topic that even us as women having to go through this for a significant period of time in our lives, um, there is so much of misunderstanding, and people are scared to talk about these things, uh, even in educational institutions, even people who are entrusted to give us this information, whether it's our parents, whether it's teachers, and educators in general, mental health professionals. There's somehow, this un unverbalized need to tiptoe around the topic, and I don't think that that has been very helpful and will not be helpful in the days to come. So yeah, so just moving on to the agenda of what I plan to do with this page is that if you see the picture, which is also the logo of this page, I've kind of named stuff. I've made it quite graphic. I know that, and that's because I don't want to shy away from it. I don't want to try and hide things, and I want to throw as much light as possible on experiences, the experiences that I've gone through, the experiences others experiencing menstruation have gone through, as well as people witnessing, their loved ones going through menstruation and not being able to ask what is happening because of this unnamed shame in the air and embarrassment and all of these things. So yeah. So when we're starting with this, I want to start on a blank canvas. It is really starting with the basics. It is starting with, um, you know, what is menstruation. I'm going to be very educational, and in that way, I'm not going to be using euphemisms. I'm going to be using menstruation, uh, vagina. I'm going to be using these words because the minute a euphemism comes into the scene, it already conveys shame. It already conveys that this is not meant to be spoken of as it is. And I think it starts there. And because we kind of internalize that, and we are not able to say the word vagina, we're not able to say blood and flow and sanitary napkin and uh, the period cup and all of these things, and drugs and breast soreness and all of these things. There are names for it, and then we find a euphemism for it, and that's mostly because we don't want to say it as it is because it's hush hush. So yeah, so I will be using all the words. Um, the and if we're talking about the the entire equipment, we're talking about pubic hair, or what happens during puberty, and growth of breasts. I'm going to be naming it as I'm speaking right now. I'm going to be talking about it shamelessly. So, yes, so we're starting with a blank canvas. We're also starting from a place of um, everybody doesn't need to know anything about this, and there's no expectation. And I think that's a really good start. So, I'm also having a strict anti-shaming policy on this page, that no matter who asks what related to this, that it is never going to be shamed. Instead, it is going to be welcomed in, and it is going to be spoken about, and it is going to be made as logical as possible, as sensitively as possible. So yes, so that is one thing. And I really invite people to send me their questions. I invite people to send me their experiences, because this will really help in making the kind of agenda and the program to take these episodes forward. So when I'm talking about questions, I mean the most shameless questions. Ask them shamelessly. Um, and I'll give you an example. I asked a friend of mine recently what was his doubt around menstruation, and he gave me a really good example of this. Was he said my first ever doubt was if it hurts when women bleed, like when you get a cut, right? And I thought that was such an excellent question, because that was a question that even I had when somebody was teaching us in school about menstruation. And I was so terrified of anticipating this thing coming and saying, oh gosh, there's going to be blood. And what if it's going to hurt? Because we're taught that you bleed only when you get cut, and that generally leads to something very painful, in a different way that menstruation is painful. And as a child, that can be really terrifying, and not having individuals to ask is also even more terrifying. So, what I started to do was I started to fill in the gaps myself with whatever half baked information I had. And I'm pretty sure that if you're growing up with brothers, or you're going to school, if you're a girl going to school in a co-educational institution, then boys know what's happening. So there's also this curiosity, but inability to ask. So we just fill in the blanks with whatever comes up in our heads. So yeah. So one other thing when we're doing these videos, is that if you're asking me a question, I will tackle it with complete anonymity. Nobody will know who asked the question. Uh, it will just be a question that is posed. At the max, I will probably say whether it was a male or a female uh, person who asked me this question. So, yes, that is the big, big, big thing about this. And yeah, and I'm going to be focusing a lot on experiences alongside the biology of things. Because the thing is, in a textbook, things are explained to us and they're put in a very clinical manner, but the experience of the same thing is really different and it differs for every single person because each person has a different combination of those experiences and of like whatever is happening to them. So yep, so that's which is why I'm inviting the experiences from others. And I don't want to rely solely on my experience because I just know how different it is for each one of us. And yeah, and then it's going to be backed up with researched, very well researched topics. I'm going to try and find sources that you could probably pursue a certain topic on if you're really interested in exploring that topic. And and then we're also going to explore the historical evolution of the stigma and how something first originated, what was the intention, and how it's kind of mutated and evolved over time, and then the rituals involved, as well as how these things actually impact us on our day-to-day lives. I'm also going to be bringing in the actual things that we use, or at least I use for to handle my menstruation, and I actually want to give demonstrations on this channel so that anybody who's coming here just is able to, without shame, watch it and learn something from it. And it's not a secret, you know? It's really not that. Yeah. So that is what I have planned. And I hope that this is something that is going to be of use to y'all. I know it will be. But I really encourage y'all to invite your friends, male friends, um, and your relatives, your dads, your mums, anyone and everyone to this page because I really think everyone can benefit from it. And yeah, and sometimes I'm going to also give you little bits of exercises you can do to begin to kind of change certain set thoughts that you have that could be possibly harming you in the way of viewing your body, and just to change that relationship, um, to change that relationship with yourself. And this is going to be applicable for both males and females because, I mean, what am I saying? Women and men. Um, yeah, so it's going to be applicable to the both of them and anybody on the gender spectrum. And just to just to kind of become really aware of where our shame lies and to see how we want to change it and whether we want to continue living with this shame or whether we want to slowly start changing that relationship, because I know that I'm already in a relatively good place with my body, um, in terms of not being ashamed of what happens to me. But the thing is, I'm also really, really aware of the fact that it's taken me such a long time to come here. And it's taken me really revisiting this place of shame and disgust and looking at myself in such a dirty way and saying like, why the hell does this happen to me, why does this not happen to them, and that kind of questioning. And now I still once in a while go back there when I'm in a great deal of pain, but on the whole I'm actually really happy with my body and what it does for me. So yeah, and I hope I can help you get on that journey as well. And yeah, and I look forward to seeing you in the coming sessions. Um, so the topic I'll be starting off with is what are periods and what are their symptoms and their manifestations. And that would be on the Saturday 22nd of August, and I'm holding it on at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at UK uh, British Standard Time, and so that would be I think 6:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. So yeah, so do join me for the live. I'll be having the comment section on. So if you're thinking of something, just send it up. Uh, as in when you're like a question is coming to you, or if you have any either experiences or questions that you want to ask me or you want me to address during the session, then you can just direct message me or DM me right on the page of Shameless period. And yeah, so just direct message me and I will give that a read and I will, try and tackle it on these sessions. So if you can also make it according to the topic I'm going with, then it will actually bring a lot more relevance to, even that session. It will be so much more enriched with your question, so much more enriched with your experience. And probably send me for a Saturday session, if you could send me what were the first thoughts you had when you first came to know that you were going to get your period and all the doubts around that. And the boys, what did you think at that age was happening to the girls around you? So, yeah. So, just send me your questions and send me your experiences, send me your doubts, misconceptions, or just the ideas you had, and we'll take it forward. So, thank you so much again for all the support, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So, I'll see you on Saturday. Thank you.